When headlines scream of war, it triggers an immediate fear that we are spiraling into a global conflict no one can control. But beneath the noise lies a calculated game of chicken where both sides use limited violence to signal resolve without triggering mutual destruction. The stakes here are not just about national pride. They involve 25% of the world's oil flowing through a single narrow bottleneck known as the Strait of Hormuz. If this choke point closes permanently, global energy prices spike and supply chains fracture in ways that ripple from your local gas station to factory floors thousands of miles away. The reality is not an accident or a rash decision by angry leaders. It is a strategic maneuver where states use asymmetric tactics to force negotiations on their own terms. To understand why this violence feels so chaotic yet remains contained, we must look past the moral outrage and examine the incentives driving every strike and counterstrike in the region today. The first layer of understanding requires recognizing that Iran does not intend to start a conventional war because they know they would lose it immediately. Their naval capabilities are no match for the full might of the United States Navy in any direct fleet-to-fleet confrontation. Instead, Tehran has shifted its strategy from theoretical threats to active enforcement using asymmetric tools like drones, naval mines, and swarms of small speedboats. These tactics are designed not to sink U.S. warships where they would suffer heavy losses, but to create a cloud of uncertainty that disrupts global energy flows. By targeting commercial shipping rather than military assets, Iran creates high leverage with low risk of direct retaliation against their own fleet. This forces specific nations into compliance through targeted pressure on the economy rather than engaging in total war, which neither side currently wants. It is a form of coercion where the threat to trade becomes more potent than any bomb dropped by an aircraft carrier. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. This leads us to the paradoxical nature of the American response, which often confuses observers looking for traditional military escalation. The United States is not trying to invade Iran or occupy its territory. Instead, Washington has adopted a strategy described as blocking the blockaders. Rather than engaging in direct combat that would be politically toxic domestically given current public sentiment against prolonged military action, U.S. forces are restricting maritime traffic specifically to Iranian ports and seizing specific assets like cargo vessels flagged by Tehran. This is a calibrated nudge rather than an escalation trap designed to avoid triggering a spiral of violence. The goal is to signal capability without crossing the threshold into a ground war that would require mine-clearing operations, where even limited losses of American personnel could be politically catastrophic for the administration in Washington. The conflict has effectively evolved from a clash of military capabilities into a struggle defined by political endurance and bargaining leverage. Hardline elements within Tehran believe they can outlast U.S. sanctions and military pressure, betting that American domestic fatigue will outweigh their own economic pain. The geography of the strait forces a stalemate where limited strikes become valuable bargaining chips for both sides. Following initial strikes in early March that effectively closed the waterway, Iran oscillated between declaring it open on April 17th and reclosing it days later to demonstrate control without crossing the threshold into full-scale war. This stance reveals how fragile this balance is. After the brief reopening announcement, only 13 tankers successfully made it through the strait immediately, while hundreds remained stranded initially. This data point underscores that commercial traffic has already begun shifting to pre-approved routes closer to Iranian waters, where ships must pay fees and coordinate with intermediaries. Since March 4th, 187 vessels have successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz, yet over half of these operations were conducted by companies from just 4 countries who are willing to navigate this dangerous environment. The flow of goods is no longer a free market but a managed corridor where access depends on political concessions and security guarantees that favor Iran's leverage. This signals a new normal where asymmetric tactics successfully reshape global trade dynamics without the need for total war, proving that limited violence can be more effective than broad military campaigns in achieving strategic objectives. Ultimately, this situation is not random chaos, but realpolitik in action where states use force to communicate messages diplomacy cannot convey. When Iran hits a ship, they are not trying to start World War III. They are forcing the U.S. to chip. They are not trying to start World War III, and Gulf states to negotiate on their terms by threatening the global economy with disruption that costs far more than any military engagement would for them. The United States responds with surgical precision to maintain credibility without triggering a domestic political disaster, knowing that losing even a few ground troops in mine-clearing operations would be unacceptable given current public sentiment against continued military action as of March 2026. Both sides are playing a long game where the goal is not total victory but survival and leverage, ensuring that while violence occurs daily, it remains contained within boundaries that prevent an uncontrollable escalation into a wider regional conflagration. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.